I'd like to discuss a film that was overshadowed by the viral Barbenheimer moment that still managed to steal my vote for best film of 2023. Cloned Tyrone is a breath of fresh air, akin to Bruce Riley's debut Sorry to Bother You, with a biting surrealist satire of Donald Glover's Atlanta. I knew from the very first shot of the film that it was going to be special, with the movie starting with eyes on a poster peeking at a conversation happening at a corner store, with a poster that reads, "Keep 'em smiling, Soma." Starting right out of the gate with a Brave New World reference was definitely a surprise, and for those of you who aren't aware, Soma is a tool that's used to drug the populace into complacency in Aldous Huxley's novel, Brave New World. Just like that, the purpose of the film is clear, a story that's going to challenge the viewer on the outside looking in. As the group argues about inconsequential rumors of black celebrities, the occasional Tupac sighting, or Michael Jackson working as a cashier after reverting back to his black skin.
What are you talking about, man? Same face, same hair, same walk, same voice, I did that Piggly Wiggly. Why I ain't never seen him there? You know why you ain't never seen him? Because he black now.
These ridiculous conversations are a critique of the ones that we see playing out on social media, the gossip and empty stories that we use to distract ourselves. It's as if the directors are telling us that there'll be none of that in this film. I can't explain to you how they managed to incorporate into a single script CIA and governmental experimentations on the black community, self-destructive behavior fueled by a popular culture that's manufactured by corporate America, all the while sprinkling Chappelle Show references into one coherent diatribe against the system and the powers that be. But not only do they stick the landing, they get the gold. This movie explores these themes by breaking down the elements of life in the ghetto into several distinct and well-known archetypes: the pusher, the pimp, and the man. The premise of the film is an unnamed government agency experimenting on the black community of the fictional Glen neighborhood. With a clever twist on the name of government-subsidized housing, colloquially referred to as the projects in the black community, we see the lives of these poor denizens of the ghetto used to further the government's plot for a docile populace. The satire examines the ills which are rampant following the experimental government-owned housing for low-income families, leading to issues that we still suffer from today, such as gang violence, familial breakdown, and post-traumatic stress. I'll take a second to examine the particulars of the film and provide a breakdown of the meaning and symbolism that's contained within. Warning, spoilers ahead. I'll begin the analysis with our first archetype, the pusher, who's played by the charismatic John Boyega, the drug dealer aptly named for the common trope of black characters in film and television being named Tyrone. In the start of this film, he's portrayed as the typical thug, focused on hanging with the boys, attacking competition, and collecting debts.
That's all my contingency right there. Okay? I tell you what, you just give me some more days.
It isn't until Fontaine is fatally gunned down by a rival gang that he begins to question the reality of the situation around him, and he realizes that he's just another victim of the trap. Investigating the startling situation with his newfound partners in crime, Slick and Yo-Yo, Fontaine finds his body lying in a laboratory with the realization that he's a clone, one amongst many as the experiments have taken place over the course of several decades. This archetype of the drug dealer is described as essential to the Glen, or the projects as they exist today.
So yeah, we use you to keep the place, well, undisturbed. Lets us experiment on the good people here in peace.
So the only reason I exist is to keep the place up.
Ain't nobody from outside bringing down the property value. It's these folk shooting each other and selling that crack rock and
Well, how you think the crack rock gets into the country? We don't own any planes.
With his involvement, the citizens of the Glen are kept docile or asleep. The youth, represented by Junebug, show their interest in adopting the lifestyle of Fontaine and getting put on due to him being a role model in the project.
You ain't gonna put me home.
Boy, if you don't go home and do your damn homework, talking about put you on. Pass out of here.
The ones that are looked up to in a system that celebrates success by any means is reflected in drug dealers, who have the most in these poor neighborhoods. Fontaine has no family he comes to find. There's no father in the household, or at least he's never seen or mentioned of, and his mother neglects his attempts to connect with her. It's interesting that he never considers approaching her, despite the same or similar answers that he receives each time, living each day as if in a loop. This is done purposefully to further critique the cyclical nature of trauma, as well as show how it's perpetuated almost subtly, as we slip into a business-as-usual attitude to normalize our surroundings. There's also the common understanding that those who live a lifestyle like Fontaine don't want to involve their family in their lives, so they maintain a distance as a way to keep their hardened exteriors intact. The second that his shell begins to break as he confronts his reality, he finds that he has no mother to begin with.
Please open the door.
I'm good, thanks, baby.
I just need to see you.
The Fontaine that carries himself with pride is nowhere to be found as he pulls the plug on his mother. Fontaine becomes thoroughly unsettled by how little control he has over his life, and thus resigns himself to continuing the facade, as though he never witnessed the activities taking place in the underground. Agency is an important element in this story, how we as people feel compelled to act or operate a certain way due to our understanding of the system. Nothing is more emasculating than losing control over your life, and in times of chattel slavery, for example, part of the breaking process was to remove that sense of manhood or masculinity from slaves, to make them docile. At the same time, your role as a protector and provider is defined by the same people who emasculated you in the first place. It's a difficult mental bridge to gap.
As a result, making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players. Not wishing to attend church, the last place is the streets, and that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making men. They do a better job making pimps, pushers, and a few basketball players.
What's up? What's up?
I'm done.
Done? What? No, yo, they get here.
I said, I'm done, right?
It's easy to play your part, but the harder and more rewarding work is the examination and pursuit of a life worth living. Fontaine realizes that he wasn't actually alive until he takes his life into his own hands at the end of the film.
It's our home, man. Mamas, grandmamas, kids. They gotta live here too. And we made things bad for them. But right now, we all they got.
We need not look any further than the fact that there's a version of Tyrone named Chester who works for the government, a small nod to the fact that each version of Tyrone is a product of their environment. If you give yourself up to the cycle, then you'll just carry out whatever was before. Breaking these habits means losing the comfort of the familiar. The most poignant takeaway in his character arc is the ending that shows us a version of Fontaine in Los Angeles. There are Tyrones in every hood in America, operating under the exact same programming, destroying the self through destruction of the community. Once the character realizes that he's been subject to living a life that was made for him to fail, can he finally see himself and his brother and begin to live and treat one another as human beings?
Never seen anything like this before.
Hold up.
Once again, clones here outside of J-Bo's pawn shop.
Ain't that you, Tyrone?
The awakening of Tyrone is important because it speaks to the truth we've seen play out in almost every freedom fighter's life. The realization that you can't have freedom until you want it for yourself. And once that desire is within you, you'll realize you can't truly be free if you don't want the same for your brother. In that way, it serves as a message to the black community that the only ones that can save them is themselves. We just don't know how powerful we really are.
I want to thank the whole hood who came out here. I love y'all. I did this for the hood.
Now the next archetype we'll discuss is the pimp, played by the chameleon Jamie Foxx. The pimp named Slick, definitely a reference to the Boondocks character.
Now hold up, Slickback.
No, that's a pimp named Slickback.
That's what I said, Slickback.
No, it's a pimp named Slickback, like a Tribe Called Quest. You say the whole thing.
Is another example of the crab in the bucket, one that belittles and destroys the dreams of young women that he breaks.
You look like what you is. You's a hoe.
An example being the intelligent and resourceful Yo-Yo, who describes her life as stuck in the same trap as everyone else. Trap referring to their home, as all the civilians in the Glen are stuck in the same repetitive cycle of oppression.
Loci. Yo-Yo, this is really good. I mean, loci? Hey, to use your Latin. Pulitzer prize-winning stuff, and I completely understand why you wanted to go to the Post.
Firstly, due to the operating system that is the government agency, spying on their activities, and by extension between each other, preferring to kill each other over taking care of one another. Slick is shown to be an opportunist, this characteristic often displaying itself in his parasitic relationships, hypocritical dialogue, and general lack of courage.
You lucky I'm a lover, not a fighter. What you say? That's what I thought.
He never once considers the repercussions of his activities, and even takes pride in being the
1995 International Player Ball Pimp of the Year. Show me some respect.
Until he realizes that he's also a cog in the machine to tear the neighborhood apart, starting with the mothers and daughters of the Glen. Mothers who are absent, very similar to Fontaine's, as they walk the streets to earn a living. His reaction to entering the church and ultimately seeing his role in the grand scheme of things grants him a perspective to change his very set-in ways, starting with the lives of those who he's helped to ruin.
Let him off for a few days. Anyway. Pimpin' ain't what it used to be, no how?
Watergate, calm down. I got the receipts right here. They cloning motherfuckers as we speak in secret laboratories in Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, Los Angeles, California.
To be the invisible people above me who pull the strings weren't getting the results they wanted. Years of experimentation, billions of dollars spent, yet no true peace in America. Hair products, songs on the radio, fried chicken.
Often dismissed as mere conjecture or conspiracy, the film tackles many actual historical events. Government experimentation on its minorities is not something new. From the smallpox blanket distribution to Native Americans in the 1700s, to the Tuskegee experiments in the black community which ended in 1972, the film's examples look at the genetic manipulation of the black community, utilizing black bodies for the perpetuation of forced labor, enacting the same injustice as a Slick or a Fontaine on their community.
Clones maintaining the charade.
Now that the black community is free, servitude has to be found through other measures, pointing us against one another or in meaningless pursuits. Another example is the use of traditional Eurocentric beauty standards, the hair care products they use to straighten their kinks that cause them to forget their ills, avoid seeking self-improvement, and change in their inner lives.
I'm using my gas money to pay for school supplies for my classroom. And now the board members saying they're gonna cut our pay again. It is just... Maybe I'm just tripping, you know?
To be docile is to never make progress that could change the current state of affairs. Very similar to the trap that the women in the black community who suffer from the expectations of these traditional beauty standards. Stuck in the clutches of figures such as a Slick, who uses their beauty to objectify them for the bottom dollar, as well as the Johns who take advantage of them, despite knowing their situation.
Excuse me, brother. Mind if I have a word with you about some of the so-called food you're serving this evening? Granddad, you can't serve this kind of food to people. It'll cause death. Whoa, this is what crack must feel like.
I ain't seen him last month.
Sorry, we do not say throw up at the table. But it's nasty.
No, honey, it's just better for you. There's too much salt and oil in most of the foods that you're used to.
Perhaps you would enjoy your spotted cheese and a buttered scone, white boy.
There are no farmers markets in the ghetto. Where access to healthy food is scarce, alternatives become necessary.
I want some grape drink, baby. It's purple. Runs to the fridge. All right, I got some purple stuff, some Sunny D. As soon as you say Sunny D, all the kids go, yeah! Watch the black kid in the back. If you ever see that commercial again, look at that black kid. He'd be like, I want that purple stuff.
It's in chicken.
The citizens of the Glen are reduced to mindless joviality upon consuming the chicken at the diner. They're uncontrollable and oblivious.
Y'all ready for the climax? I see y'all with that mind control music. So I got one more thing I need y'all to do.
The music industry using mind control is one that's often beaten to death. But why is the glorification of such sound so prevalent in corporate-controlled studios?
We gotta stop pretending we care about these people, we care about these kids. This is a business. They want to use you and destroy you. It's better for their business if you're dead.
And that's what we strive for. Keeping the United States united.
By cloning pimps and drug dealers?
That's why they put out albums after you died. If they cared about you as an artist, they wouldn't do that. They would just give your parents the remainder of your contract. They would give you health insurance. They would give you life insurance. It's just, you get what I'm saying?
Everybody's got a part to play. In order for us to continue our work down here, this place has to have a certain flavor, quality of life. Je ne sais quoi.
What you talking about, man? We in a trap. And you use us to keep it that way.
Why is killing music so readily adopted and accepted as cool? In the image-based society we're all trapped in, these are not by coincidence, but very purposeful decisions that have led to the adoption of self-destructive behavior.
The homie just got popped in his face at the park being 15 years old. And you want me to go back to that? So I can play something that's gonna make you want to get in the car. Got popped by a I know they was both good kids around the same age, never met each other, though, lived down the street their whole life. You know what he asked me last time he seen me? I'm not gonna say rapper name. You heard that new blah, blah, blah? Yeah, that should make you want to go do something.
Parasitic corporations that promote the choices of the dominant culture, the attitude and behaviors around drug use, promiscuity, and violence are made attractive to youth and keep the attention and thoughts on mirroring these lifestyles, which support their perpetuation.
Let the music take control, baby.
It isn't based on accident that a majority of popular rap promotes self-destructive behaviors, but these musicians aren't distributing these records themselves. The supply creates the demand, music to be played in venues where people can dance to mindlessly in bars and clubs. And in areas where these realities are being lived, they're used as soundtracks for murder. And in the suburbs, they teach and promote drug use. You are what you consume, and a bad diet is readily available.
But we are not the people who are flying and floating that shit in here. I know every time you turn on the TV, that's what you see. Black people selling the rock, pushing the rock, pushing the rock. Yeah, I know. But that wasn't a problem as long as it was here. It wasn't a problem until it was in Iowa and it showed up on Wall Street where there are hardly any black people. Now, if you want to talk about...
I did mention at the beginning of this essay a little bit about black folklore. I do want to mention Bighead Yak, which is a character from the Nation of Islam. It's a creation tale shaped by W.D. Fard and Elijah Muhammad, in which a world inhabited by the original man, entirely black, were thrown into chaos by an evil scientist by the name of Bighead Yak. Now, Yakub creates white people as offshoots from black people and introduces differing races to the world as a way to throw his society into chaos.
Short-sighted, waste of resources. All because they couldn't see what's so obvious to you and me. It's not enough to think the same. We have to be the same. Nah, you tripping, man.
We will never, ever be able to beat China because everybody in America is racist and everybody in China is Chinese.
A country constantly at war with itself. No common ground, no dialogue, no peace. If we're all on the same page, and we're not ripping each other's heads off. And all of this has a chance to work.
In the Nation of Islam, these whites are pioneers of a devilish world focused on the subjugation of the original blacks. Similarly, old Fontaine, or in this case, the original Tyrone that was cloned, has resigned himself to converting all black people to white, similar to Yakub.
But we have since perfected the process. Think might notice if they wake up one morning with blonde hair and blue eyes. This won't happen overnight, Fontaine. It'll happen over generations.
However, we hear of the event which sprung his entire genetic program and experimentation on black people started with the death of his brother. He couldn't afford to have something like that happen again and chose rather to wipe black people off of the face of the earth as his answer to the issue.
Why? Ronnie, it's the one thing I wanted you all to have. But yes, he is the reason I made a deal with the devil.
Losing a brother to law enforcement and the event he experienced show a similar defeatist mindset as that of the cloned Fontaine once he's initially learned the truth. However, we're reminded by Yo-Yo that this is cowardly, and it's a black woman in this film who is shown to be the catalyst for change in the environment.
And black women, leading as they so often do, poll amongst the highest in calling for climate action. So thank you for that. Yeah, clap for yourselves.
Leave Fontaine, half of the goddamn Glen is here.
Old Fontaine is so defeated by the system, he becomes one of its perpetrators, similar to the drug dealer, the pimp, and the authority figures who all leech off of the spilled blood.
Say it with me if you will. I know you know it. Obedience.
They give Jim Jones a run for his money.
They got the Kool-Aid part down too.
It's no surprise that religion falls under the same harsh criticism in this film, mocking this pie-in-the-sky heaven talk of the black church, which serves as the hidden headquarters of the agency. The preacher singing to his flock to forgive and forget the injustices enacted upon them.
Your grandson Jamal was gunned down in a drive-by shooting right next to the Derrick scene.
During the civil rights movement, the church was very active in contributing to the gains of the movement. However, the modern church is shown to be directly against action, although action is a true path to salvation. It's the reason why good deeds are referred to as works, something that carries weight, is difficult, and involves some toil.
Not the whole Glen, just specific people, over and over.
Unlike the meaningless singing and dancing, which has no effect on the situation, it's not a crime to pray in times of difficulty, but to quote the good book, God helps those who help themselves. When you put your most vulnerable populations in environments that are too toxic for humanity to thrive, and then serve them opiates to distract them from their situation to make it bearable, don't be surprised that there's a dissolution of trust. Injustice was the catalyst to the fall of the original Fontaine, who represents the oppressed becoming the oppressor, shunning the responsibility that we have to each other as human beings. There's more to life than just getting your own, which is what our characters experience as they develop and bond through the events that transpire. It's only through the solidarity of the community that those systems which oppress them are wiped away.
Is just how quickly residents of the Glen have rallied for help. We've got folks out here giving out water, food, clothes.
Do you hear me? Look, to be honest with you, I really didn't even used to him like that. But now, we with it now, though. When we see double, we know it's trouble. You did.
At the end of the film, we see that these characters are finally able to do what many of those who find themselves in this environment are unable to: leave the trap and end the terrible project.
Felonies, might have committed felonies. Who's to know? Cause
I want to thank you all who stayed tuned in. I hope you can give me a like, subscribe, and comment if you appreciated anything about this video. Feel free to explore my channel more for other essays. If you're so inclined, my Patreon is set up now to help the channel grow. And as always, thank you for watching.